The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone to our latest episode of vBrownBag APAC. Today we're going to be talking with Marcus Puckett, who will be going through the ins and outs and deployment of Log Insight. So Marcus, would you like to give a bit of an introduction and show us your presentation?
Yep. Like you said, I'm Marcus Puckett. I was previously a VMware consultant, and I did a lot of pushing of Log Insight as a way to easily collect syslogs and also monitor your environments. And it also makes troubleshooting and our root cause analysis much easier. So that's why I like using it, and that's what I want to talk about today, is how to set it up and use it to simplify your life. So you can follow me on Twitter here, and this is my blog. I haven't posted a lot lately. I'm going to try and pick up soon again. But yeah, let's go. So we're going to talk about vRealize as Log Insight, obviously. Current GA version is 3.3. You can interact with other Log Insight users at their forums at loginsight.vmware.com. It's also a good place to be able to get updated information. You can download betas, what they call tech previews of Log Insight to test features. You can make feature requests, ask questions, and some really knowledgeable people from the Log Insight team will be able to help you out and answer your questions. There are also content packs, which I'll go over later. You can find them at solutionsexchange.vmware.com. Their content packs are far more than just Log Insight, but this is where you'll go to find them, and we'll get into more about what content packs are later. Product info is at that website. Really just Google search Log Insight. I don't expect people to remember that URL. So let's jump out of here, and I'm operating under the assumption that deploying an OVA is something that most people can do or figure out. So instead of going all the way from the deployment of the OVA, I'm just going to jump straight into here. This is the first screen that you'll see when you get into a vRealize Log Insight deployment. This is where you start your setup process, basically. It's been given an IP address, etc., from the OVA deployment process. And you can either join an existing deployment or start a new deployment. Joining an existing deployment will create a cluster, which I will also go over later. So let's start the new deployment. So while it's doing that right now, I want to talk about some of the recent announcements that have been made. The Log Insight team recently announced that they were going to allow up to 25 OSIs, which is basically just endpoints where you'll be collecting logs from. So 25 separate devices, whether they're ESXi hosts or routers, switches, physical Windows servers or Linux servers, even storage arrays. Some storage arrays have syslogging available for them, and you can pull in information that way. And so with any licensed version of vCenter, Log Insight will be able to provide a license key for up to 25 OSIs just included. It's a good way to kind of get your feet wet and see what Log Insight has to offer. And for smaller deployments, it's a really great way to kind of monitor your environment and make sure that everything is running as smoothly as you hopefully think it's running.
Yeah, that's
that was good timing.
those OSI licenses, they're per vCenter server license, is that correct? So if I have two vCenter server licenses, I can have like 50 OSIs or 50 devices pumping logs into it?
So yes, you can use the free 25 OSIs with an actual paid-for license for Log Insight. So you don't have to you don't have to forego your free 25 licenses when you do purchase another copy. Oops. Forgot about that. There we go. So I'm just going to not include a license key right now. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I really do need one of those because if you don't put a license key in, then you aren't able to use the interactive analytics feature, which is a big part of what I'm doing. So let's grab. Oops. There we go. So I get 1,000, but it's because it's a trial version. So you can. So login site will put out alerts for both the login site server itself, which will notify you of things like you're running out of disk space, or sorry, not disk space. You're running out of. You're not able to maintain your quota of how many how long log entries are supposed to be maintained. The default is going to be 30 days of logs being maintained. You can offload that into an archive. That's an option. But if you have stuff like that, or you need to update, or one of your servers goes down, then this is where you would configure where those emails are going to go to. You can also have it send into webhooks, into different URLs, different online ticketing systems, and stuff like that. I don't have anything to put in there though, so because this is a test environment, I'm not going to send the trace data. Time configuration, just continue to use VMware's NTP servers. If you do have an SMTP relay, you would have to configure it here for it to be able to send you email alerts properly. I'm going to leave this all at default. It comes with an internal SMTP server, but if your compliance or security teams require that it go through a relay and that the relay be authenticated, you can configure all of that here and send yourself test emails to make sure that it works. So that's basically it. That's your initial configuration. The last thing that you're going to do is choose one of the 3 different ways that you have to ingest logs. So the first one is the easiest. You just point it at a vCenter server, give it an administrative username or password, and then you're good to go. There's also agents that you can install on endpoints like Windows servers or Linux servers, and the agents are really powerful because you can pull data from many, many different locations. You can use the Linux server to pull information from wherever even and dump it into a text file and have the agent parse the information that way. Previously, I've used that to do view event monitoring to make sure that desktops and were available in the pool, and it'll alert me if there were no desktops available in the pool. And syslog is just to accept syslog feeds from devices that are capable of it. So let's do the vSphere integration here. So if I can spell... and then... oh, wrong password. Okay. And you can see here, you can tag the information. I'm going to get more into that later. Basically, it's a way to easily identify what servers go where, stuff like that. Okay. So now what it's going to do is, normally if you weren't doing, if you weren't to configure it this way, you can still configure it another way. And if you're aware, you can go into your ESXi servers here and configure where they're sending syslog currently. So if we go in here, manage, wait for the web client to catch up with us. Oops, there we go. Advanced system settings. And if we go down here to syslog global log host, we can see that we have information configured here. So what it's doing right now, what LoginSite is doing right now, is it's applying all this for us. And if you look in here, you can see this is my production LoginSite server. ESXi can send to multiple logs, syslog hosts. And then this is the one that we just configured here. And if you'll notice, it just appends it onto the end. So it's not going to interrupt any of your already configured syslog configurations, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, definitely very handy.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about breaking everything with it. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is look at the dashboards here. Dashboards are kind of the first thing that you'll see whenever you log in normally. You can see here that we have a general one. It'll give us a count of unique hosts, you know, a lot of information. This stuff isn't super important. There's also the VMware vSphere one, and this kind of is where you'll start to see the value of what you're getting here. You're able to easily identify, you know, error events, warning events, different kinds of events, security stuff. You know, you'll see failed login attempts in the source, ESXi, failed login attempts, source and user. We can go down to licensing, and you'll see it'll do, here we go, hosts here with all of this information, DRS and HA events, vMotions. It'll tell you if and when there are any vMotions. There aren't any right now for my hosts. And we even have information for vSAN vVols, and it'll give you vSAN events over time, errors, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what is known as a content pack here. Both of these ones are. And these are prepackaged dashboards that let you view what's in your environment. They have information already set up within them to pull out logs and create these dashboards the way that you see them here. So if we go here to content packs, we can see all the different ones that are available. And these are going to be available at the URL that I showed previously for the Solutions Exchange website. Now you'll see we have a pretty wide variety of stuff. The Apache suite, Cisco's ASA and Nexus, also their UCS blades, the general one that's already installed that we looked at, and we even have ones for Linux and general Microsoft as well as Windows products. And then, of course, all the different VMware stuff. Horizon View, NSX. There's a vSAN one, but you have to get it from the Solutions Exchange. This doesn't auto-populate here. So this is what you would do. This is how you create. This is the LoginSite environment here, like the community environment. This is how you can help other people. If you create something, oh, there's the vSAN one. If you create a content pack, or if you create a dashboard similar to the ones that we see here, something that's useful for you for monitoring a specific application, then you can go and export it as, where is it? So you can export it as a content pack for other people to be able to consume and monitor their applications. So really, VMware here has a really good community product that allows other people to help each other and to make their environments more secure, give themselves better uptime, things of that nature. So let's go back over here. One of the things that's interesting to see is, let's look at the vSphere overview. So we see all these HA events right here, right? So if I want to know what those are, since this doesn't actually tell me what's happening, it just tells me how many events there are, or we don't even know what it's looking for from the syslog feed to determine whether an HA event has even occurred. So if we go to this little spyglass here, we can open this dashboard in what's called interactive analytics. So interactive analytics is kind of the meat and potatoes of LoginSight, especially for me. This is where you can view your log stream in real time. If you see down here at the bottom, these are the raw log messages. Just this is the text that's being handed out right now. You can see all the information on there, and the graphs up here is created from these queries that have been created. Now the queries are really, 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 really easy to make. The LoginSight team has made basically a Google-like search interface, so it's significantly easier to utilize than some of the other products, syslog management products that exist. You don't have to learn any of the regex or anything like that. This does everything for you. For some people, they like to do the building your own dashboards and have much more control over what's available. But for this, just to get things going, and especially for environments, smaller environments, LoginSight is going to be a really, really big win for them to be able to monitor things as easily as it makes it available. So this is what drives the dashboard that we were just looking at. And you can see up here, this is what we saw in the dashboard. So how is it created? We have this line that does a query over the text, which is the entirety of the log message. And the text contains HA-star, so HA-wildcard character, and HA task wild character. And then it also filters that. So this is going to be an either-or statement. If they're on the same line, it's an either-or statement. And then this is applied after the either-or statement. So the app name contains FDM. So if we go down here, we can see HA root pool hostee, HA root pool hostee, and then what actually happened here. Root pool capacity changed from blah blah to blah blah. Now you can update this and edit it and have it try and pull out other stuff as well. And that is how you would create your own dashboards. So you can add a filter and say, I only want to see things, or I don't want to see things that say default, for example. And then you hit the search button, and it comes back with things that don't include default. And then you could save that as a dashboard or add it to one of your dashboards up here with a simple click of a button. You would select whichever dashboard you wanted. You could create a new dashboard, and you can create the name and all the notes about it and everything. I'm not going to mess with it really, but that's what's available, and that's really how easy it is to work with interactive analytics. So let's look at everything here. These are just all the alerts that are all the log messages that are coming in right now. And you can see internal state, VM, blah, blah, whatever. So, if you, for example, had an issue occur and you didn't know what exactly happened, you just knew that it happened at a specific time, you can come into interactive analytics and time slice your entire environment over that specific amount of time. And that for me is really what made Login Site as attractive as it is. I used to do a ton of root cause analysis for an environment. Every time there was an outage, I had to give them a long, detailed explanation of what happened, how it was caught, what we did to fix it, why it happened, and what we were going to do to prevent it from happening again. So previously, the method that I would have to go through is basically just log in to different log sources and start gripping away, see if I could find anything that would tell me what was going on at the time. And for anybody that has ever had to do that, you can appreciate that that's not a fun process and it's really difficult. And you especially have to try and keep track of everything because something could go wrong on multiple different systems and you have to correlate them all together. So if you were to have them all feed their syslogs into Login Site, you can correlate by time very easily all of these log messages and information that you previously had to pull from multiple different sources and then try and correlate by hand. So here you can edit, date, time, wherever you want to go, and then start adding filters, or just do a regular search like in here, just like using Google.
So with this, then you can, when you've got nothing there, it's going to show you every host, every device coming thing. It's just basically the raw input without any filters at all when you've got it set like this. Is that correct?
Correct. So if you'll look here, we have a bunch of stuff coming in from host 1. And it's pretty much all from host 1. Okay, and then here we also have stuff coming in from host 16.
I just noticed when you highlighted, so you can actually do a filter there from when you highlight, which is a nice feature.
Yeah, the usability of this product is actually really, really great. One of the other, one of the, what do you call it? One of the people that works on Login Site, his name is Steve Flanders. He did a brown bag at VMworld this past year, the US VMworld, and he did a presentation that was basically completely centered on building user interfaces and user experiences that are very simple to understand and how important that is for a product. And you can really see how he's put his money where his mouth is with this product, because everything is really sleek, really simple, easy to use. It works really hard to enable the user rather than asking for a lot of the user. So another thing here that's part of that is anybody that's familiar with regex knows that it can be a really big pain to try and write your custom regex stuff, try and pull things out. Sometimes you have to think about it a lot and test and try and figure out what exactly you're trying to pull out and how exactly to make those patterns and everything work out so that you get just the data that you want. Here, it kind of makes it easy for you. So you'll see what I have here highlighted. It pulls out the host name of whatever device is coming out, is providing the syslog feed. So if I click on here, we can go up and see, sorry, here it is. So you'll see how it highlights all the host names there. And if you drop it down, this thing's in the way a little bit. Bring it up here. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a custom one instead, never mind. Didn't quite work how I wanted it to. So if you highlight it, like you said, you can do the filters, contains, does not contain, makes getting rid of all, the bajillion SSL errors go away quickly, so you don't have to deal with them whenever you're trying to find a real issue. But there's also this right here, extract field. So you can extract fields and make specific information regarding it viewable by extracting it, and then build alarms, build dashboards, and even build queries around using these custom fields. And you can see here it will automatically generate all this regex for you, add additional contents, etc., stuff like that. Like you can set host name should be whatever for this field to be populated. And you can make it available for just you or everybody, call it whatever you want, extract the values that you want, an IPv4 address. You know, that's always fun to try and write in regex, right? So, and once you build these fields, you know, you can see it gives you all this information, and you can use them up in these filters here. So if you drop this down, you'll see all the fields that are over there on the right are also contained within here. And you have more, they'll give you a little more information, like where it came from. I don't have any other content packs installed, so I can't, all I have is the VMware vSphere basic ones. But you can do, you know, failed reason contains whatever, and you can build really specific alarms or dashboards around that kind of information. So let's go back up here. So I'm going to do a query first. You know, the text contains test-alarm, and this doesn't return anything, but now we can also, on top of being able to create the dashboards, extract the fields, stuff like that, I've mentioned that alarms are available. And, you know, when something goes wrong, you want to know about it. So if we go into here, we can just create an alert from this query that we made. And that makes it easy so that you can test what you're looking for before you actually create the alarm. And you can call it whatever you want and provide notes like links back to KB articles or just straight up how to fix the problem. That makes it really easy so that you can have a higher level person kind of, you know, they've solved the issue several times and make it easier for somebody that's newer to try and resolve the issue on their own without having to escalate issues beyond where they really need to go to. With the email addresses, you know, you send it to an email-based ticket system. This is similar to the alerts that we set up for login site as a whole. We have webhooks that we can hook into other systems, and we can also configure vRealize Operations Manager integration so that you can have a bigger data set to be able to look at things. This will say, you know, there was an alarm created here, and then you can pull that information into Operations Manager, which I don't have deployed to show, but being able to pull that into Operations Manager, you can correlate that with all the other metrics that Operations Manager gives you to work with. And you have a lot of features here based around how you want it to alert you. Okay. Now, right. Okay. So that's how you for me those are the big features on how to work with Login Site and how to make it usable, give you important things that matter to you, provide alerts so that you can always know what's going on with your system, when you need to know it, and where you need to know it, whether it's through an email alert system or a webhook. That's how I use it in my day-to-day environment. It tells me, you know, I've got snapshots that need to be consolidated after last night's backups. I've got a host that just purple screened, or for example, and this is probably my favorite use time that it's ever really helped me out, is it'll pull hardware information. Like ESXi knows that memory modules are going bad far before a purple screen ever happens. but you need to be able to pull that data out of ESXi and alert on it. And so I was able to replace a memory module, or well, I had to pull the host out because I couldn't just get a memory module the next day. We had to go through the RMA process and all of that kind of stuff. So I was able to just pull the host out of the cluster and let it sit there, by itself with no VMs running on it, so that it wasn't a threat to the continued uptime of the environment, and go through the RMA process, and was able to get the memory replaced. I think it was a week into the RMA process. The host actually finally purple screened after the alarms started coming in, and that was a really big win. Not having to deal with the environment getting taken down, not having to fill out an RCA. It prevented me from having to do a lot of extra work that I would have had to have done had I not known that memory module was going to fail. So this board here that I have brought up is where you do a lot of the administration, and this is less of the day-to-day, more just nice to have features that really make the system resilient. The one that I really like here is the ability to cluster nodes together. Now, because we're just doing the test license, I would have to join them all together. I would have to deploy more and join them together to be able to create a cluster, but it's really just as simple as a click of a button. You just click enable clustering, it pulls everything together, elects a master node, and creates the load balancing automatically for you. And then here, the integrated load balancer allows you to create an IP address that you can always have logs go to that will distribute, between whether you have between 3 or 16 nodes, which is the minimum and maximum, what's going to be what goes where, and so that way you can have uninterrupted downtime for up to 2 of the nodes. Well, okay, up to whatever it is -1, whatever the maximum is -1 of the nodes, and it makes upgrading the cluster really easy too, because then it just rolls through the cluster automatically.
Okay, so when you do the upgrade, will it sort of do node 1? Once that's online and functioning, it will then do node 2? Is that sort of an automatic part of the upgrade process?
Correct. And so if you click the upgrade button, all you would do is select whatever your upgrade package is, their .pak files, and that will automatically upload the package to each individual host, and then it will one at a time roll through the cluster for you, so you don't have to manually upgrade anything.
Very nice.
Yeah. So you can also set up different levels of users. You can restrict it based on different kinds of rules and roles that you set for them. This makes it nice so that you can have like a view-only admin. You give a user, maybe a finance user like the CEO or VP or somebody that they want to be able to log in and see a snapshot of the environment, but you don't necessarily want them to be able to go in and mess with things. They just want to be able to see this report of the environment. You can restrict that access for them. Also limit the data set so that they see only. This is a good example for like if you have several different sites and you only want each individual site to see just the information from that site. You can select queries that will limit the data sets to only being able to be seen for whichever user is logging in. It's really great because you can kind of build this full multi-tenant environment using some really basic and easy to understand tools, and everything kind of operates well with each other, so that you only have to learn a very finite number of skills to be able to make this really powerful product.
So that means with the data sets, I could have, say, an auditing department that can only see successful and failed log-ons, nothing else, whereas on the same system I can see everything, for example.
Correct. And that's actually a big use case that I hear from VMware is the ability to transform security from something that's really reactionary to something that's proactive. You see this user all of a sudden spike really heavily on number of failed or even successful login attempts, and you know pretty quickly that this is not something that should be happening. Things like that. You can really, like, honestly, the sky is really the limit on what you're able to do with a system like this. As powerful as the different syslog stuff is in the environment, in the ecosystem, you can really see how heavily you can build all these products up to do not anything, but most of what you're going to want to even be able to accomplish. Okay, and then this is the last feature that I'll go over, really, is the agents. Agents are, I believe I mentioned them earlier, they're something that you'll deploy to various endpoints, like a Windows server or a Linux server or something like that. And what you can do there is it will automatically pull like Windows event logs and known Linux logging file locations, and it'll parse all these text files or the .log files from Windows and generate information for that and bundle it and send it up to login site for you. And the way that you manage that is you do this real like config management style. You create profiles basically, and you'll deploy an agent to an Exchange server and an agent to a SQL server, and you know that both of those you want to have Windows event logging configured for them. So you'll have your super group of Windows event logging, but you don't necessarily want it to try to do Exchange logging on the SQL server or vice versa. And so you can get really granular with how you have your agents deployed and make deployment of agents really easy. And so you're managing all of your agents from the central interface here, rather than having to log into each individual endpoint and try and update them there. And I don't have any. It comes with available templates, as you can see. I don't have any custom ones put in. There are a ton, though, a ton of different ones out there, as you can see in the content packs. So, yeah, that's Login Site. Do you have any other questions for me? Did I lose you?
Sorry, bumped the mute button.
Oops.
Just under that agent feature, there was one there that got my interest I saw, which was the events forwarding. Does this mean that I can have sort of each site locally collect all the logs? So on the left-hand side, you've got event forwarding, and then there's maybe a central repository just to, say, keep the critical ones or something like that.
Yeah, so this is actually a really cool feature, too. I use this heavily for the... we had kind of like, we used this as kind of a service to augment the monitoring over different VMware environments. You can deploy at each site, whether it be a customer, a department, an actual physical location, deploy them at each individual sites, have them gather logs, and then forward the information to you. And what you can also do with that is really cool is you'll actually inject into the log these key values, and you can do multiples, as you can see, and you can use that to make it very easy to divide up and search only information for like just that one site that you have that had the issue. Only they had an issue, nobody else did, and you want to know information about just that site. And you can forward it, to wherever, making it publicly available or over your VPNs, etc. And you can filter out information that you don't want. Like there's a host name, like you don't care about that host name. You want it actually gathered for that local site, but you don't want it in your central repository. And there's all the other stuff that you can specify in the advanced features. But yeah, event forwarding is a really cool feature because you can kind of decentralize everything, have it all happening at those endpoints, and then forced up to the central one that you want to keep everything at.
And just on one other bit, just with the licensing, there's something I was reading up on. The licenses are all per point that injects into it. It's not per agent. So if you do want to do load balancing, that sort of thing, you don't need to pay for extra licensing. It's just one other bit I wanted to add to this.
And there's also, so there's two different models of licensing that Login Site comes under. There's the OSI model, which is what the free version operates under. And that's going to be just every source of log that comes in. So if you go under hosts, this is how many sources of logs that I have coming in. You can see that I have 20 of them. We have 16 ESXi hosts in this environment and a vCenter, and it looks like it has a couple of duplicates. I don't understand why, but that's something else I could investigate. And so there is another model, though, which is priced per, I want to say per core of the, let's just go look. Login site. This is the VMware Login Site product page. And if we go here to buy online, it will show us so this is the OSI type. And if we scroll down to licensing, yeah, so we'll also do per CPU licensing. And so this is for, there's two different use cases, obviously, otherwise there wouldn't be these two different models. OSI is when you're going to be not super dense on your hosts. I want to say I calculated the break-even point at some point. I want to say the break-even point is going to be around 7 or 8 VMs per ESX, or not per ESXi host, per core. And once you kind of hit that threshold is where it makes more sense to do this per CPU. And that's going to be, you're going to kind of start hitting that with a VDI environment, something like that. So this is really something that you're mostly going to use for VDI, but the OSI model is also, but both the models exist.
Excellent.
And so one last thing, these two, I mentioned Steve Flanders before. He has a blog at sflanders.net. Ton of information about Login Site. Far more information than on my blog. And he also tweets information. He's a good source to follow if you want the most up-to-date information on Login Site, as well as Bill Roth, one of the product managers for Login Site. He tweets information about Login Site as well, and so those two are going to give you really good up-to-date information.
All right. Sorry, I've forgotten how to talk again for a second. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Marcus. It was really good insight to that product. Definitely a lot of great features, especially obviously what's important for a logging program, which is how to filter and actually get useful information from all the verbose noise that we're used to seeing. So, yeah, very well done.
All right, thank you. It was fun to do.
So, I was your host today. I'm Brett Johnson, or at BrettJohnson008 on Twitter. And Marcus, did you just want to plug your blog and Twitter handle once again?
Oh, yep, let's go ahead and do that. Twitter handle is mpuckett259, pretty easy. WordPress blog is verdit.wordpress.com. I don't have a lot of stuff up on it yet. I'm hoping to get going more on the blogging side of community involvement this year, though.
All right, well, once again, thank you, and this has been another podcast for vBrownBag APAC.